Hello and welcome to today's Developer Skill Sprint. Today we're going to talk about how to use the RAD Studio IDE, its integrated project source code control features, and we'll be using Subversion, Mercurial, and Git with them. My name is Robert Love, and I can be reached on Twitter at Delphi Dev, and throughout the bottom of the slides you'll see here in the bottom embt.co/sprint dash source dash control. At this URL, you'll be able to find all the links to the learning resources associated with this skill sprint. This skill sprint works with every feature within RAD Studio, so it works with Windows and OS X, Android, iOS, RAD Studio. Oh, it also works with Appmethod, and there's no difference between the languages that you use. It works really well with everything. And if you need any additional help, the wiki is really well documented on what's going on with this feature. What will be covered? Well, first off, we're going to talk about how to enable the IDE for version control, how to get it set up. And then the next, we're going to talk about the various version control options that can be covered in the IDE. Pretty simple. For the most part, we'll spend all the time in the IDE itself and just running through each thing. I want to point out that XE8 supports Git, Mercurial, sometimes I'll refer to that as HG, and Subversion or SVN. Each of these have slightly different levels of support, but for the most part, they're very, very similar in the IDE from one version control to the other. Let's get on to the demonstration. Let's get started. I have a brand new version of Delphi XE8 Update 1 open, and I am going to start by going to the Tools and Options and configuring the various version control settings. When working with version control systems, one of the most common things you need to do is see changes and resolve conflicts with changes made by multiple people at the same time. So Delphi gives us many options when dealing with these, and also for you to use any number of tools that you may already be familiar with to help you. So let's start off with something like the Difference Viewer. In the Difference Viewer, you can see here we have, it says Default Viewer here. And by default, you have the built-in difference viewer or Beyond Compare. The text compare version of Beyond Compare ships with Delphi. It's well worth the money to upgrade to the full version. And that is the version I have installed at this time. You can also manually configure other different viewers of your choice here, such as being able to here add, and you can select the title in the program. And these just show up as another option for another difference viewer if you'd like it. And you get to choose the command line parameters that viewer will need to view. Now we can also go down to the merge viewer. Delphi does not have a built-in merge viewer. However, Beyond Compare does integrate well and is considered the internal merge viewer here. You can also add external merge viewers as well to your choice here. Now I'm going to scroll down a little bit here. And we're going to go to the version control settings. And we're going to first look at Git. At Git, you need to select the path for the command line client. This was not pre-selected when I installed. I've already selected this. And you'll also need to specify the username and email address you'll be using. You can also change color schemes of the various views. In addition, you can delete backup files after a commit or choose to have an alternative commit layout on the screen. Finally, after you choose to commit, you can choose to keep the commit view open or have it automatically close. All of those settings, with the exception of the get executable and the email and username, are all at the default right now. For Mercurial, it's basically the same thing. You just specify the path to the executable. I already had pre-downloaded Mercurial and Git, so they were already on my machine. You'll have to do that as well. And just the command line clients will work fine for these. For Subversion, however, The libraries ship with Delphi, and you don't need to install anything in addition to get them to work. But they do have a few options in addition to the ones that Git and Mercurial have that you can choose, such as the blame and diff functional abilities to ignore the differences with the line endings or if they will show, and also allows you to control how white space is compared. All right, now we're going to create a new application. I'm just going to create a new VCL Forms application using Delphi. And we are going to then save this application. I'm going to create a new directory here called example 1 and place the files in just the way they are. So really highly intense project here. But ultimately, we are going to add it to version control. And for this demo, it really doesn't matter, but we'll just select Git. We can choose any of those. So we'll try Git. Now we get to use the URL of the repository, and this is the remote repository that our project may ultimately reside. For this demo, I'm not going to place that anywhere. So I'm just going to put the word blank. It really doesn't matter because we're not going to have that. I can just have an initial commit here. So what this really is saying is this is a Git repository that will only be local on my machine. And so we'll import that. Now that I've done that, that directory is under version control. So I can right-click on the project, and I now get a Git menu where I can commit, pull, show the log, clean, and push. Now, since I didn't put a URL in there, we can't pull or push, but we surely can make changes and commit. So let's do that. Let's just say, hey, we're going to start building our, one-button application that comes in here, and then it has show message, hello world. Come on, I'm having a hard time typing. And we'll just save this. All right. Now, if I go to the History tab right down here, we can see the initial version of the form. We can see the committed version, which was no different. And we can also see the current version that has the button click, and the code in it. We can also use differences, where I can compare the original version to the current version on disk, and we can see the plus and the minus that give us this. So this is the default differences view. However, we noticed that we were able to select Beyond Compare. So if I select Beyond Compare, I can get it in the Beyond Compare functionality here. And you can see easily that the changes side by side. That allows us to kind of see differences in the file based off history. So let's make a few other. Let's make this change, and let's right-click over here and go over to Git, and we will commit. And in here, once we commit, we're going to say added show message. That's the comment. And I am just going to commit that. And I can come back to the history now, hit refresh, and I will see that commit is there. And you can see the comment of added show message there in the hint. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make some more changes, but these changes are destructive to our code. Obviously, we don't want them. Things happen. You go through, you've done a bunch of things, and you say, I really just don't want that. I can right-click on any file at any time at this, and notice I can go to the Git menu on that specific file and revert. So I can revert the changes, and now I'm back to the last commit. So let's do this again. And I can commit this. And when I come in, I can say, hey, bad changes, because, you know, sometimes, well, that happens. And ultimately, now if I come in the history and hit refresh here, I can see the changes that I want. And this allows me in here, I can revert to whatever revision I want. So in this case, let's revert to this previous reversion. And I can say yes. Now I can go back to the code, and I'm back to the safe version. Save and commit. Restored. Good. Copy. Okay, this will work with Git. It'll also work with Mercurial, and it will also work with Subversion. So the history tab is very much aware of your repository. Now I added that to the version control inside of the project group here. And there was a menu item there before it got the Git. But hey, say I have existing code out there that's already pointing at a Git repository. I can, or any version control repository, Delphi picks that up and understands that. And it knows that the directory is under version control, and the history tabs just work. So even if you've checked out your code in an external utility, set it up externally, you can still use this, and so the history tab is there all the time and ready for you to use. And all right, now we're going to just close this project, and we're going to go to the menu and show you how you might open a project from version control that is already existing. So I can open from version control here, and I then get to select the repository. So in this case, I'm just going to choose Subversion, and we're going to choose the URL of the repository. And I've just had that in my clipboard, and this happens to be pointing at the Rad Studio demos. And we're going to pull down the VCL examples for C++. And let's just go out and projects, and let's create a new folder out here called example 2. And just hit OK. And what we'll see here is it downloads all the files for the VCL for those specific projects. And it'll take a second. Obviously, this is going out to SourceForge right now and downloading those. And but you do have a good progress and know exactly what is happening. But I wanted this one specifically because our repository that we deal with has many projects. And so when I'm setting up a new machine, I can use this, get the URL, and then I get a list of all the projects that's in there, so I know which one to open. And so in this case, I do get a list, and I can just say, hey, I want to open that one. Or I can choose to open the project group that happened to be there. So we'll just open the App Analytics one, and hit OK, and now I have it open. If I go to the C++ Analytics right here, I can open that up. I can see the history, and I can see that Kimball added the C++ version of this file. It obviously was never changed. The header, I can also see the same thing. And this allows us to quickly see what's going on, and I haven't done anything special here. Now obviously I don't have rights to configure this, so this is a really cool way of checking out some open source technologies that are out there. You can just open with the repository from version control that's there. So we have Git, Mercurial, and Subversion here. one thing to point out is now I have a Subversion menu, and so you can commit, update. I can also browse the repository with this, and it is a little different. So if I load this, I now can see everything that's in the repository and what revision is there. I can work myself back up the tree and come to just say C++. Now I can navigate through everything that might be there. And so this is a version control feature that is very specific to Subversion. So there is the browser functionality that's integrated really well. Another thing is it still does have update and commit and reverting, just like we had with Git. All right. As with all skill sprints, we go through fast, and we tend to leave a lot of edges for you to explore. The documentation in Rad Studio is really incredible when it comes to version control. There's some discussion here. I start you off on this page here, the tiny URL xe8-ver-control. This specific documentation page talks about using version control and why you might have it, and then gives you the links to the various integrations and why you'd use and how to set up Git and Mercurial and how to use those. Also, there's a YouTube video of understanding distributed version control that I did for Code Rage 9. It will discuss how to use version control, mostly outside the IDE, but it also talks about how it compares to, say, Subversion and how that the pros and cons of each. Git integration in Appmethod and Rad Studio by Malcolm Groves is another YouTube video, and it is a good integration. This video of basically some of the same things that I've shown today, so get another take on it if you need to. And there is a great blog post here as well if you prefer to read that way on Git with some remote repositories in Rad Studio. At this point in time, I would like to thank you all and let you know about next week's skill sprint. We have cool dynamic programming tips with the enhanced RTTI. If you know anything about me, the RTTI is awesome, and this is a skill sprint that you do not want to miss. It is not one that I'm doing, but it's definitely one you do not want to miss. And so I welcome you all to join us next week.
Allow me to quickly tell you about some of the special offers we have going on right now. As part of our early bird pricing, if you purchase Rad Studio, Delphi, or C++ Builder 10 Seattle, you can save 10% on your license if you purchase by September 30th. Also, registered users of any earlier version can qualify for upgrade pricing. This is a savings of up to 45% off new user price. Update subscription is not required, but still recommended, and everyone also gets access to the free bonus pack. The free bonus pack includes the new book by Nick Hodges, More Coding in Delphi. This covers topics like writing solid code, duck typing, and multi-threaded parallel programming. You also get the new book by Marco Cantu, the Object Pascal Handbook. This is a modern language guide that covers the new features in Object Pascal, as well as some of the core runtime library. The MITA Converter Basic automates some of the conversion of a VCL application into a FireMonkey application, so you can take advantage of multi-platform application development. Also included is the VCL and FireMonkey Premium Styles Pack. This includes styles for both desktop and mobile for VCL and FireMonkey that allow you to really make your application stand out and give it that premium look and feel you want. To find out more information about the bonus pack and these special offers, visit embarcadero.com/radoffer.
Thank you so much for your time. We're going to open this up to Q&A if you're listening to the live session, and hope we can help answer any additional questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Robert, for that very informative session. I learned a lot about version control and how to take advantage of it from the IDE. So we have a few questions that came in here. Does this work with Serena's ChangeMan version manager?
I'm not even familiar with the change man from Serena.
I'm actually not familiar with it either.
Never heard anything of it, so I couldn't comment on it.
So that it is extensible, but yeah, I'm just not familiar with ChangeMan. Have to look into that one. Let's see. If anybody does have any questions, go ahead and put those in the Q&A window, though, while we're going through here. Do you know of a structured difference manager for DFM files? Changes on a form can be a nightmare to find.
No, I've never seen anything. I mean, the only tool I really use for seeing differences is Beyond Compare. It seems to work well with the DFMs, but then I'm pretty used to the way it looks, and I haven't ever really had a problem with the DFMs like that. Conflicts, on the other hand, with the DFMs can be a little bit more difficult, but I use the advanced version of Beyond Compare, and it does a three-way merge, and it actually is really easy to see which sections you want to take in when that happens.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Beyond Compare as well. It works fabulously for me.
And it's in the product. Well, not the three-way merge, but that's the advanced version. But
I remember when I heard that three-way merge was coming out, I got so excited. I would like to use multiple branches, i.e. development branch and release branch for my projects, but I also have multiple packages. When compiling using multiple versions of packages, I get file compiled with different version, compile errors. How do you get past this issue?
you have to rebuild as you switch. I mean, you can't depend upon if you're switching branches and you have different packages with different code, you have to rebuild that code every time you switch branches. There is some options. There are ways that you could build the code twice and store them in two different locations, and then use environment variables for your pathing and basic, or you can even use different registry set keys. There's a way to specify which setting of the registry you're going to use for which version of the IDE you'd be loading. So you could load it once with packages from branch A and then packages from branch B. But basically, you still have to. You can't solve it without compiling the code.
Okay. Is there a way to get the Delphi project manager to show a file's version control status?
The version control status.
So I guess whether it's up to date, checked in, not checked in, such.
If you go to the commit dialog inside the IDE, you can see which files were changed, but there's no way to know whether it's up to date without performing an up to date. There are tools depending on that are external to the IDE that you can use that will give you that, but I have never seen anything that in the IDE for that specifically.
Okay. Peter's reporting apparently GitHub was having some troubles today with a denial of service attack, but it looks like they're up going now. Kind of interesting happened on the skill sprint day here. Can I add my Git repo on Bitbucket to my project?
Yeah, I mean, you can add projects from Bitbucket as well. One thing that I have not noticed is the ability to support multiple origins on the push and the pull. So if I have multiple origins set up, it will only go to the default one in the IDE. But so if you wanted to push to different repositories, you have to use an external client for that.
Okay. Ludo's pointing out that WinMerge by K3Diff are also great tools for merging. So yeah, there are some of the great tools out there. I used to use, what did I used to use? I used to use WinDiff, and then I discovered Beyond Compare, and it's just so fabulous. I love Beyond Compare. I use it so much, and I use it for all the time on my system, whether it be source code or like version control, source code differences, and also file differences, stuff like that. But there are other great tools out there as well.
I have 10 Delphi developers on my team, and we use a mixture of KDiff3 and Beyond Compare, depending on who you are and your preference. Really, they are good tools, and I've stuck with Beyond Compare though.
Yeah, there was another one that had a coworker that used, I want to say Arrakis, something like that maybe, that he really liked, and I looked at it and it looked like it had a lot of cool features. I prefer Beyond Compare. It would seem like it was significantly more expensive too, but anyway. So apparently the Serena version control system is PVCS. So again, that's a different. The API is extensible, so other version control systems could be added. But right now, the ones that are built in out of the box are the three that are listed there: Git, Subversion, and Mercurial. But then there's a third-party tool as well that provides a number of additional integrations. I'm trying to remember what that one's called. Real quick. It sounds like Robert's going to beat me to it.
Yeah, I'm looking. The source connection.
That sounds like it. It has like.
Yeah, I have not. From apocalypse.com.
Yeah.
Or Apocalypse Software. Here.
Yep, that's the one I'd looked at before, and they have, what is it? Star Team, PVCS, Serena, Perforce, Surround SCM, Clearbase, CVS, Clearcase, sorry, MKS. That's about half of them. So yeah, they have quite a few. Whether or not cPine Surround will be integrated in or not. So we're doing the developer. Oh, I should put that link in here. The survey, our annual developer survey right now. And if you indicate on there, if there's enough indication on there that it is something that people are interested in, it may end up in the product. It's not currently on the roadmap. It's hard to say what will happen in the future. But let's see, I'll put that link in here. I'll put it in the chat window as well. Oops, wrong button. It may show up. So this developer survey is in soon. Developer survey. Okay, send. And that way, that's how product management knows what people are interested in. And so that's a way that they might know if there's enough demand for cPine Surround SCM. So we do have a question coming up about next week's skill sprint as well. Luda's asking if next week's skill sprint is mainly concerning Delphi or if it's also on the C++ RTI as well. Currently, the next week is going to be mostly on, or is going to be on Delphi C++, specifically using attributes. The C++ has a different attributes implementation than Delphi does. It doesn't use Delphi RTTI attributes. It uses a different C++ attributes, and I can't remember the details on that. So hopefully we'll come up maybe a blog post that goes along with that explaining those attributes in C++. But the skill sprint itself is going to be on Delphi or Object Pascal RTTI attributes, which is some pretty cool stuff as well. If there are any other questions, go ahead and type them into the question panel there on the GoToWebinar software, and we'll get Robert to answer them for you here. Thanks again, Robert. I love these skill sprints because even though if it's something I think I know something about, I watch it and I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know you could do that. Just it's neat stuff. There's so much out there to learn.
And I didn't cover every little edge. There's the IDE fully supports dealing with conflicts when you commit, and well, specifically you get those when you update, and how to resolve those. It will launch Beyond Compare and give you the three-way merge and deal with that. So I just didn't have time to present that.
Now, if you have the full version of Beyond Compare, do you have to add that manually to the IDE to get called with the three-way merge, or does it recognize that and do that automatically?
It just recognizes it right out of the box.
I love that. That's so cool.
The IDE, I think the plugin that ships with the IDE recognizes both versions and just works.
Cool.
And it's so cheap.
Yeah, the full version. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I remember I was using WinDiff, I think that's what it was, which is what ships with Visual Studio years ago. And I was trying to manage some differences, and it was just a headache. And someone said, if you looked at Beyond Compare, I was like, oh my goodness, this is so much better. I just couldn't believe it. So I have been a huge Beyond Compare fan ever since then for, gosh, since, I don't know, seems like forever. Okay, so the embt.co/sprint-source-control is updated with the links you see on the screen. Thanks again, Robert, for your contribution to the Skill Sprint today.
No problem.
And I guess as one of the links there is to your Code Rage from last year or year before?
It was just last year.
Last year. So, and then Code Rage is coming up again this year, which we can be excited to look forward to that. Hopefully we'll see you again there, Robert. And
I haven't submitted anything yet, but I've got to come up with some.
Oh, no.
It's just been one of those months.
I understand that. All right, if there's any questions, go ahead and put them in the question panel on the GoToWebinar software. Robert Utley just said that he's been using SVN all the time via Tortoise, and he'll make a point of looking at the IDE integration now. So thanks for this great presentation.
You know, they work well together. I use Tortoise as well, and you know, the history tab to be able to see the things that are in the IDE. You know, it just depends on where I am at the time and what I'm doing. So they work well together, and they're not going to step on each other.
Yeah, I found that I do the I use sometimes use command line, sometimes use Tortoise, sometimes use IDE integration. It all just depends on what it is I'm doing. Some things I prefer doing via the command line.
Yes, I would agree.
David, I hear earlier someone had asked about icons, you know, for the state of things in the project window. I use Tortoise SVN externally, and it tells me all nice things about what's checked in, what's changed, what's not updated, and so on. It'll be great someday to have those in the project window as little icons next to the project nodes. That'd be great.
It would be. Scott's saying it's really important to keep your Subversion version up to date. Subversion version, that's fun to say. Delphi complains if you don't. Yeah, if you have, if you like run Tortoise, the newer version than is in Delphi, then it will say, oh, wait, got a different version. So as long as all your versions are the same, you're fine. But yeah, that's important. So Wade's asking if there's support for diffs on directories. He wants to see a list of all the files with changes.
There is not a support for diffs across directories inside the IDE. It's something that I'm used to seeing for Git specifically in external tools. The IDE is very file-based and project-based. So you can actually see the changes across a project. Quite often the easiest way to do that is actually go to the commit dialog where you can see all the changes that are pending. You can also see a history from the project point of view. It is not, however, usually directory based.
Scott's saying download would merge. It's on SourceForge. It does folder differences and is well integrated into the IDE. Actually, Beyond Compare will do folder differences too, if that's all you want to see is the difference between two folders.
Yeah, if you're looking that way, it will do it well.
There certainly are a few merge and diff tools out there to choose from. I'm a big fan of Beyond Compare as well. Ships with it, and the upgraded version is even better. Scott's saying well integrated into Windows. Okay, not into the IDE. Okay, well, thanks for everyone being here. Thanks again to Robert for putting together this great session for us.
No problem.
We have later this week, Thursday, we have our Tech Partner Spotlight with Elevate Software, showing off their web suite. And next week we have the RTTI Skill Sprint, the sneak peek for what's coming in Rad Studio, and I believe we have the OmniThread Library Technology Partner Spotlight. So lots of great online content coming up for everybody. So stay tuned, and we'll see you all online.